This video is to help you describe and defend a teaching strategy to support your students' cognitive development in your standards-based lesson plan according to Vygotsky. And Vygotsky is almost as equally famous as a learning theorist as Piaget, if not as famous. And here's a picture of him. He was very young when he passed away, in his 30s, and actually came up with some very advanced ideas of how we develop our way of thinking through social interaction. So to find and to describe and defend a teaching strategy, like always, we want to look at our lesson plan, our instructional activities in our lesson plan, look and see that there is one, and if one is missing or not specific enough, we try to expand our lesson to reflect the changes we want to make. And according to our examples, steps number 4 and 5 in the writing activity, the author believes that this will support the student's cognitive development according to Vygotsky. So they believe that if they do something called brainstorming together in a group, and the teacher actually sits with one of the groups with the brainstorming, this will reflect Vygotsky's way of thinking in terms of student development of their cognition. One change, though, needs to be made by the author. It's going to add in the word heterogeneous groups. This will better reflect what Vygotsky believes in. So, defending why this works, here are some of the things that you need to think about. How does your teaching strategy in your lesson support something called co-construction of learning through scaffolding and other cultural tools? Support students' zone of proximal development. Pay attention to this term, it's used quite often, called the ZPD. Or develop students' private speech, especially in collective monologues in young children where they have a tendency to talk to themselves. So by doing that, by reading these resources, especially 42 to 48 with his sociocultural perspective, the idea that we learn through social interaction, develop our thinking, watching a video on Vygotsky overall, and part 1, 2, and 3 will really give you a better idea of his theory, and again, reviewing different teaching strategies which would be reflective of his ideas, and then defending this and making sure that we have a few ideas in depth connected to what we read to show that we do have an understanding of that concept. Presenting these ideas, step 1 and 2, electronically through text or multimedia. Again, I always encourage you to use images, YouTube video, and so on to describe your defense. So for example, you could defend a teaching strategy in step 4 and 5 by maybe a video clip of a teacher employing scaffolding techniques in a heterogeneous group. And then also we can place this at the end of our lesson plan to show it continue to build and reflect great learning theories. So going all the way to the bottom, there's Vygotsky. Notice that the only thing we added new is heterogeneous, and so we make sure that up here there's our heterogeneous group, and it's continuing to grow into a great lesson that reflects a lot of different learning theories. So let's continue. Let's go on to the next developmental learning theory.